Hey athletes, coming at you this morning from in front of the whiteboard. And hey, I want to come at you today because I want to talk about something that's really important when it comes to fitness. And for a lot of guys, when they get into middle age years, 40s, 50s, 60s, even some of the higher years, 70s, 80s, 90s, 100, there's one really, really important thing that a lot of guys are missing out on, and it's affecting their ability to function at a really high level as they get older. And one of the things, if you're here, that you want to do is you want to make sure that you live a long, healthful, high-functioning life, right? Because let's face it, when we get older, there's still lots of opportunity to do all kinds of different things in the physical realm, and we've got to keep ourselves in good shape. And a lot of times that stuff entails much more than just cardiorespiratory endurance, right? Because what do we do as we start getting older? When we want to lose weight, what is the thing that we generally do? Besides nutrition, I'm talking about fitness here, but we generally do a lot of cardio, right? What does that look like? What is cardio to you? What does that mean to you? It means anything that gets your heart rate up, right? So generally speaking, it means running, it means rowing, it means biking, maybe swimming, right? Maybe triathlons, right? These tend to be the things that are really sexy in the world of fitness, right? When we're talking about somebody who's fit. You know, especially as we get older. You know, when we're younger, we used to do a lot of strength training, right? Being strong. But as we get older, we kind of get away from some of that stuff. And we tend to get away from that stuff, or we tend to avoid it a little bit because we're afraid of getting injured or hurt. So we fall into these long duration, long distance kind of cardiorespiratory conditioning kinds of things. And again, nothing wrong with this, but this is just one component. We want to get people, and what I see people missing out on in this world of fitness is not necessarily this stuff, but it's the strength stuff. Right? It's getting strong. This is what we're missing out on. And you might be thinking, okay, well, you know, I do strength training too. I do resistance training. I got some bands. I do some band work. I got some light dumbbells. I do some light dumbbell stuff. Or maybe you were even going to the gym pre-COVID, and maybe you were going through those machines and you were doing some strength training on there, like 8 to 12 repetitions. You know, when it gets challenging, move the pin to the higher weight, right? And I would say, yeah, that's great. You know, that's awesome. But when we do strength training, we need to get legitimately strong. And you're probably thinking, like, what does he mean by legitimately strong? Like, a lot of the traditional strength training stuff that's out there doesn't give us real world full body strength. And I think one of the disservices that a lot of fitness coaches out there have put upon us, especially as we get a little bit older, is they hold us back so much in the area of strength because they're afraid we're going to get injured, right? So if you're let's say you're a 50-year-old guy who's got 25 extra pounds of body fat sitting on you, maybe you're not in great shape, maybe you run a little bit, maybe you do some occasional things, right? You go to the gym and you're like, I want to get strong. And they're going to be really careful with you, and that's kind of what they've been taught. I know, because I've been there. But they're like, look, you know, they're a little bit older, you got to be real gentle with them. So they kind of handle you with kid gloves. You know, they'll probably use a little bit of weight, but it's going to be very, very light. Maybe it's more important to do a lot more repetitions than it is to lift heavy things. And we just kind of go, yeah, okay, that sounds good. Yeah, because I'm a little bit older now. So I got to really be careful. I can't throw out my back if I lift too much weight. I don't want to hurt my shoulder. You know, or maybe you've got some old injury that kind of bugs you, because every guy over 40 has some orthopedic thing from back in the day. You know, we all have it. It's just part of the process. But, you know, so we're always handling you with kid gloves, and then that perpetuates because then you start to believe that that's the right thing to do. So you never really get strong. And then you go out and you do all your cardio stuff, and you're you're blowing out knees or hips. Runners have terrible knees, terrible hips, terrible low back. Just about everybody's got like something that's going on. And it's because we're not developing our strength in a way that's going to really make sense. We're holding ourselves back and limiting ourselves as to how strong we can get. And you know what happens when you get really strong? You want to know one of the coolest things? Is you become bulletproof. Does it mean you're never going to get injured? No, but your threshold for any type of what I call silly injuries disappears. We need to make you legitimately strong. Not just 20-pound dumbbells. We need to make you legitimately strong. And you would be amazed at just how much capacity you have to develop strength. Like real world strength. Stuff that's actually going to be valuable to you in your life. We can make you incredibly strong. We need to get over, as a profession, we need to get over the fear of hurting people and instead focus on movements. Because if you are trying to make somebody strong and you're hurting them, you don't understand movement. Or you don't know how to teach it. You don't know how to teach somebody to move. But if you can get somebody to move well, if you can make this your foundation, and I can teach somebody how to move beautifully, then we can start to add external load. We can add external load to your movements and we can make you incredibly strong. Incredibly. There is no limit. The only limit to how strong we can make you is if your movements start to crumble. But if I can teach you beautiful movements and we gradually add resistance, we add load to that movement, we can make you stronger. And we add a little bit more, stronger, we add a little bit more, stronger, we add a little bit more, stronger. And as long as your movements are good, we can continue to add until this starts to break down. If that starts to break down, that's where we got to be careful. That's where we got to back things up a little bit and then maybe progress a little bit slower, right? But the key, the foundation is good movement. And then you can get as strong as you freaking want. And it's amazing just how strong you can be. How do I know this? Because I've been doing this. I've been in the industry for 20 years. And I've worked with a ton of guys over the age of 40. And I'll tell you what, you have the capacity to be incredibly strong, incredibly bulletproof. And I'll tell you what, when you master these movements, which are the fundamentals, we forget how to move as we get older. I would argue we have it when we're kids, but we forget when we get older. If you can learn and develop these movements, it's kind of like riding a bike. If you can get them, you have them for the rest of your life. So value your movements. Value your movements. Make that your fundamental, foundational piece of your strength training. And in fact, it's the foundational piece of all of your physical endeavors in life, is to have a good foundation of movement. And what's cool is when you have that foundation of movement, your strength levels may change over time, right? Like you may have times where, this is your strength, this is your age, we'll just say, or time, right? It may fluctuate, right? You may go through phases where you do a lot of strength training and get really strong. And then maybe you drop off a little bit for whatever reason, different seasons of life, right? But as long as your movements are good, you can ride this curve however you want because your movements are always beautiful. You can always go back to strength training and not worry about blowing yourself up, right? We just have to accommodate wherever you are at that point in your life, right? We have to accommodate the prescription, the RX of weights, right? We have to adjust those things as you go through your life. But the goal is to keep as much space under this curve as possible as you move through your life, right? We want to keep you as strong as possible for the rest of your life. And it all hinges off of that foundation of beautiful movement. So anyways, the thing that we're missing is real strength, like legitimate strength. Area under this curve. And the way to maximize that area under the curve is to make sure your movements look great. How do you get good movements? Find somebody that's been teaching it for a very long time and make sure they're what we would consider, what you hear in the world of strength conditioning is like compound movements. Right? We want to make sure that the movements that you're using for the most efficiency and the most effectiveness for everyday life is that they test or they train the entire system from the toenails all the way to the fingernails. All of those muscles work together. And consider your body one giant muscle. It's not a bunch of little individual pieces. That's a bodybuilding approach. That's not going to get you real world strength under the curve. Okay? You want to train your entire body, one giant muscle. Okay? And when you can do that, that's when you can get stupid strong. All right, if you have questions on this, let me know. Otherwise, if you'd like some help with this, reach out, hit me up in the messages, hit me up in the comments, and I'll tell you exactly how we can work together. We can work on your movements. We can work on getting you stupid strong. All right.